Hello. Waiting for Alex. Oh, there she is. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Hello.
Hello. Can you see me now?
And now I see this part of screen black, but I don't want to interrupt it. Give me a couple of minutes and we'll see. But I hear you very
Okay.
well.
Well, let's see if the viewers can see both of us. That would be interesting to know.
Let us know if you see us, please.
Somebody. Well, I think I think it would be great if we could both see each other, but I can see you. That's
Okay,
what.
okay, that's enough for now.
Oh,
I'm afraid of doing something here.
someone said they could see us both.
Okay, okay, that's good. Maybe some problem is on my
So
side.
my
Okay,
apologies for taking so long
no,
to
no,
start
no,
this.
no way. It's okay. And thank you so much for finding some time to
Oh,
talk with me
well,
because
you too.
I know that
Absolutely.
today you have a very busy day.
Mm.
A happy Thanksgiving, by the way. And
Happy
great.
Sunday. Yeah. Uh-huh. So, so we decided to read each other's book.
Yeah.
Um, in case anyone's watching and wondering, let me just make sure my volume is up. There we go. Um, and I didn't finish yours yet because it's quite long.
I
Okay. But
did finish yours
oh, good.
as well.
Okay, so I don't feel so bad then.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
not because yours is so long, but for me, Renary, it's very concentrated.
Mm.
I read one poem and I think for 2 days about it, really.
Really?
It's
So
not like fast food to me. It's like some very elegant dish that I must consume very, very long time. So I will stay with it.
I really appreciate that. I think that it's almost better to do it that way than have someone just speed read it and not, you know, get anything out of it. But I'm wondering, is it because you're relating to it that you have, it brings up some things that, make you think?
Yes. Yes, by the way, while reading your book, I answered myself a question that I'm asking for years.
Wow.
It's question why we are healing ourselves while reading.
Oh,
And I understood it is when you meet a perfect match in someone's book.
mm,
I mean that I have some inner pain, but it doesn't have form. I can't express it, and suddenly I find exact words for my pain in your book. For
ooh,
me, it was a kind of shock. I even marked these 2 lines in your poem, and I
wow.
remembered them. Sorry if I missed some word, but these were such words. I don't wish you dead. I wish I hadn't let you in instead.
Mm, mm,
It's
yeah.
really what I feel because about my particular situation, and these words are very bitter, but they are very true for me.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, we have bad things happen to us, and a lot of times it's because we trusted someone, right?
Yeah,
We let someone in, and that can be in physical form, in your home, or in your car, in your life as well. But when we allow people in our lives, then we are become very vulnerable. And I think that a lot of times people want something from us and we don't know that. And that's one thing that I've learned in life is that keep the people close, who don't require anything from you. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
and be very picky and choosy about the people who show you, that they kind of they want something from you. And so that's always going to be it's always going to be a question of, the trust factor. And I think that in life, there's just not that many people that we can trust at the end of the day, like really trust. Yeah. So it's our job to choose who we let in, and sometimes we don't have that, that control, I guess, but our environment, we very much can control a lot of that, I believe.
I agree with you. And another quote from your poem that hit me in the very heart. It were such words. Um, I feel shame. I'm sorry, I don't remember them exactly. Maybe you will correct me a little bit. I'm ashamed, even if I'm not the one to
To
blame.
blame.
It
Yeah.
is really what I feel sometimes, because it's great to make this job, as you said, to choose, but unfortunately we are not fully responsible for whom we are choosing, because we are not gods, we're just humans, and
Yeah.
we can't predict everything that happens to us. And sometimes when you choose bad, then you are sitting with yourself and with your shame and thinking, how could I be such fool? Why I opened this door? Why I did so? Why I let him or her in my life? And it's it's driving us crazy a little bit.
Yes.
And
But
I think
why? Why do we have that much shame over things that were probably not our fault? Why?
I
Why do
don't
you think?
I don't
I
know.
I
I
think so.
think
I
it
think
is.
as society has, very strict standards about certain things, and if we don't conform, if we don't follow, you write a lot. Let's go with your genre. You write science fiction, and a lot of it is like kind of like a 1984 Orwellian type of, thing where we're pretty much all the time forced to either follow a norm, a group, a way. And if you don't do that, then you're seen as kind of an outcast or a troublemaker or a heathen, who knows what, right? And that's the thing, is that in order to follow, not follow and keep to yourself, you still kind of have to pick and choose some people, because we can't live alone. Um, so when I was reading your book, um, what I found interesting, the first thing is that your main character is male. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why did you choose to do that? Like what, I'm just curious.
You know, for me, my books are very unpredictable. Sometimes readers say that they are unpredictable, and it's quite understandable. But why they are unpredictable for the author, I don't know. And if we are talking about this particular book, it was, I don't want to be mad in your eyes, but it came to me in a dream, really.
Okay.
When I was pregnant with my daughter, I saw a dream which was like a movie. I was acting in it, and I was this guy, Fred, and
Wow.
this all happened to me. So maybe a, it was a kind of plagiat in my from my own subconscious, so to
I
say.
think that's great. Yeah.
But I then read that it's not some particular thing. It happens to a lot of, for example, researchers, scientists.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are struggling with some problem and they can't find solution. But in a dream, when our brain is in a state of semi-rest, so to say,
Yeah.
the solution just comes to us. And that was for me. So unfortunately, here I can't explain why and can't answer this question. It was just felt by me in during this dream, and when I woke up I realized that I just have to write it down and see where this
Yeah.
where this path
It's
will
funny
bring
because
me.
when you said sometimes scientists do this, I thought you were going to say like put themselves in the shoes of someone else, like another gender, for example, to try to figure out the solution to something, which makes sense that, no, but like maybe this is how your brain needed to process and tell this story that maybe, or maybe you just simply didn't want it to come from, or for even if it's fiction, people are always assuming that the author, you know, the feelings and all the thoughts and everything, they assume that it comes from you. So I think it's safer to go with someone, I guess like in this case you're Fred, right?
Yeah.
I can separate you as a writer from Fred and see that as a separate story and not get kind of, confused or influenced by your gender, let's just say. You know what I mean? So and yeah, and there's one thing too that you that I jotted down here. We're talking about things that we read from each other's books that resonate. Um, and yours was, hang on here. I'm not really good at organization, but I did take a screenshot and I don't know why I can't find it now. But it was a conversation with at the beginning. And also, I think it's very, very clever the roundies that you described, the roundie. Well, I go with the round, but to that you use, Fred uses as a doctor to
Hmm.
measure the levels of life, I guess, and functionability of the individuals. So yeah, so that's also very cool that you came up with that. I think that's really, really great. So I, okay, here it is. Here we go. He says that, how come I can't find, anyway, okay, so it's a line that you say that Fred says that he's kind of envious of this other character because this character loves what he does in life. And Fred doesn't really have a passion for his work necessarily like that. And that I found was an interesting, perspective or thing to put into your book, because those are things that I find when writers do that, it's kind of a random um, thing, and it takes you into a thought that's separate from the story. So I really enjoyed that aspect, that kind of way that you write like that, where you'll just drop something like that that makes me think about, how many people actually do love what they do or don't. You'll never really know, but does it make a difference in the quality of, your work? Because Fred seems very qualified and competent in this book, but I guess I'm not done yet, so I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, so I find it very, very fascinating. And I found that your writing style was very similar to Margaret Atwood's in the sense of she writes a lot of science fiction type stuff, right? Uh, and the
Yeah.
characters are very complex. Yeah. So I like that ability.
Thank you. I appreciate it much because I like this moment too, and I like what I like about Fred is that he changes from book to book, from chapter to chapter, and in the beginning he's really not so passionate about his job. It's just a kind of just job for him for a living, so to say.
Yeah.
But then the things change for him, and he's a brand new person in the end. And
Okay.
Renaya, when I read your book, I had the similar question, but it was just pulsing in my head. on each chapter from one poem to the other poem, but I don't know. This question is very personal. Maybe you don't want to answer, so don't please.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, of course, you realize that I am not my character.
Right.
It was just created by me and so on. But what is special about your book? I couldn't stop thinking if that all happened to you really in your real life, or it was in the life of your friend, maybe of the person you know, or it was imagined by you.
Okay. So no, it is factual. It is 100% my life. 100%. Even down to the second part, which is a police report. That I don't know if you got into that. If you got to the poetry, then you probably read the police report.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
So
read everything from
yeah,
the
so
very
that
beginning
is
to.
all accurate information. The police report, I actually have it. It's from 96, so it's all handwritten by the police officer. But I typed it to put it in the book, and I just didn't add the names and the location to protect myself and of course the people who are mentioned in there. But and also an interesting thing maybe that will help to give you a picture of what it is my first book was basically written to process, the realization of all these things that I just didn't think it was I could talk about, right? And so I started writing. So in my first book, there's one poem called Thunder, and it's like a brief kind of, well, it's a poem about the same situation from my second book, which is called Thunder. That's why my second book is called Thunder. It's
Mhm.
actually, so all that to say that there are so many different situations and things that happened in my life, especially in my teens to my 20s, that one poem in my first book became a whole book in itself, which is my second book. So there are a lot of other things that I have not mentioned in Thunder that are also true and also very much about my life. But all of that, if you, I know you said you didn't read it to the end, but all of that kind of has a nice ending to it, I guess. So I'll let you read and continue if you feel like it. Then you'll kind of not feel as left with all this like, you know, poetry to digest. I made sure that the book wasn't just about like trauma or um, it wasn't a shock factor book. It was just about explaining my experience, but I also wanted to give a bigger picture of how that affects people, but also like what we're talking about now and on this live was how writing heals, right? How we use this as a way to heal. So for me, my first book was that it was one poem after the next, I processing different experiences and situations. And then when I was ready, I took one of those situations and I wrote a book on it. And that's my second book, the one that you just read. So, yeah.
First of all, I want to say that I'm very sorry for this situation in your life, that you had to face it all. And I was reading it at night,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
was, terrified. It was, I imagined how you felt in this situation for me, and I read it and I thought, God, please let it be just some imaginary plot, and I don't
Yeah.
want it to happen to real people.
Right. Right.
And but I suspected that you will
Yeah.
answer in such a way that because the word memoir on the
Yeah.
I understood that it was real story for you, and I want just to say that you are really very strong woman, because especially I was impressed by this part when you tried to get help from police, from some other people, and so on and so forth. And in one moment, you realize that you are alone, that you must deal with it by yourself, and
Mm.
that's all. And it was really a very strong moment. And you read it and you think that maybe I would not have enough power in such a situation. So just
Well, well,
nothing to say.
I appreciate that. And I don't really, feel like I don't really want people to feel sorry for me or to apologize for it. So, but I appreciate that and I understand where you're coming from in that sense. But for me, it's just my life. You know what I mean? It's something that I overcame and that I can look back on now and I can talk about it, I can write about it. And some days are difficult. And I write a lot and that's how I deal with that. But for me, it's not like I choose not to look at it and say, oh, that was a terrible part of my life that, was really bad luck. And, I'm so sad that this happened. No, actually, I'm not because I believe that things, I think they happen in the way that I don't know if the way they should, but I've learned so much from that. And I understand too that sometimes, yeah, we talked about trust at the beginning. That's very important. I think I did trust too many people that I shouldn't have, and I've learned from that. Again, it's not my fault if people are take advantage of people or if they're evil or predators or whatever. But at the same time, I've learned a lot from that. And I don't like to think of it as something that I don't want people to feel sorry for me because then that means that something bad happened to me and that's all people see. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not me.
Yeah,
It's a part of my life. Um, but I carry it with me with along with all the good stuff too, and I try to use it. And the other thing is you said that you didn't like sometimes I think people feel like oh bad things happen to everyone but it wasn't that bad for me or something like that. Let me tell you, every one of us on this earth or beyond probably have experienced some trauma, some things that you know it could be. I was talking to someone actually yesterday and she told me that the passing of her cat, her animal, broke her, crushed her. She could hardly function. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to her life because of the timing, because of all these other things. So when you think about that, I think that we often visualize like trauma in a way that, yes, maybe the way that I depicted it in this book is the way that people imagine it. But there are so many things that have happened in my life that have had major impacts on me and how I feel about myself today and how I feel about things in general, that were not like a sexual assault or that were not violent necessarily. Do you know what I mean? So we
yes,
have to honor that, that we all have things that shouldn't have happened to us, but they weren't our fault. And it necessarily wasn't necessarily bad luck either. It's just, the way that, life, was served to us, I guess. But I think the trick here is to not put yourself in the category of being like, say, a victim or even a survivor. I see it differently than that. I see every day of my life is about making it better than the day before and making sure that I do my best at whatever it is, regardless of that stuff. Because we've all, like I said, and again, my husband, I asked him, we've been together for 26 years, and I asked him maybe a year ago, I said, why didn't you run like when you met me? Like when he met me, all this stuff was fresh,
mm-hmm.
and and of course I had told him a lot of it, right at the beginning. And he looked at me and he said, everyone's got baggage, Ren. Yours just came out early. And he said, I would rather have it that way than it come in little spurts throughout the years or whatever, like it usually is. So for him, it was like, give it to me now, tell me what it is. And he believed in me and he saw me without kind of separate from all that stuff. And so I continued to try to improve my life, whether it was my fault or not, that it needed fixing. You know what I mean? So I think that's important to remember
yeah,
that we all have something, and you have things I'm sure that you've experienced, and you said you may not remember some of them, you know, and that it kind of like is inside of you and it manifests itself in different ways, but you can't put your finger on it necessarily. um, it's still just as valid as the things that you can picture and feel and see that you've experienced. It's just it affects our lives, and we have to become more comfortable with talking about those things, even if it's not the thing itself, but what kind of like how it affects you. So if you decide you want to write, like you do, um, that's how you heal. That's how it is. But you don't owe anybody any explanations on that and why, or what your specific pain is what I'm saying. We're all trying to heal from something. Yeah, I believe that.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that really we should not, but sometimes we do, but we should not blame ourselves and victimize ourselves as
Yeah.
well. And this point of view that it was just served to us. I liked this word, and
Mm.
we just live, and we just go on and on and on,
Yeah.
like
You
Freddie
can keep
Mercury
you can
said, and
keep eating
that's
that dish, that you've been served, but you can also cook something new, and
yeah,
you'll always
yeah,
remember that food, but that's there's a lot of things we can't control, and we learn that with, especially when people deal with addiction and stuff like that, right? There's a lot of things that we try to control and we can't control it, and it'll drive us crazy, by trying to. But there are some things that we can control in a way, and that is our attitude and our behavior, and how we approach things, and our energy. You can
yeah,
walk into a room and you can feel it sometimes, right? That sometimes that energy is really bad, or it's good, but I'm talking about when it's bad. And if you bring yours in there too, and it doesn't go away, it has nowhere to go. And if we all feed off of each other. And so I think that happens a lot when we carry things with us from the past. Um, but you're right, we do tend to give ourselves a lot of guilt about things that we're not.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are the worst. Maybe we torture ourselves in the
Yeah,
worst
we
possible
do.
way,
We are. We
and
do. Yeah.
we can't give up with this, and just can't stop, and we can earn this happiness. Not, I don't like this word, earn. Maybe we can be blessed with this happiness just when we stop giving ourselves unhappiness, giving ourselves this shame, this blame,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this
We choose
victimizing
what we
as well.
say. We choose what we say to ourselves. Every time
Yeah,
do you not catch yourself sometimes say, oh, you do something and you drop something and you go, I'm so stupid, or something like that,
of course.
or I'm such an idiot. Well, that is something that we're feeding that to ourselves. What if we changed the way that we talk to ourselves? I think that's a good start right there. And I try to make myself aware of it, but I also try to make friends aware of it too when they do it. Like, no, you're not stupid. Do you think I'm stupid because I dropped my fork? You know?
Mhm.
Um, and people are always like, no, you just dropped it. It happens. It's an accident. But why did I just call myself an idiot though? Because I'm feeding myself my own negativity, and it wasn't even valid. I didn't even deserve that one. So yeah, we do have control over how we do talk to ourselves, I think. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Sometimes our friends are kinder to us than we are, and
yes,
we just need to be kind, good friends to ourselves
a
too.
lot of times I'll tell someone something and I won't apply that thing to my own life. I can see it clearly for them. It's the perfect solution to their problem. And then I go in my own life and I go, hey, wait, that's an issue. That's a problem. And I'm not even using my own advice. Like, why? And it's funny, right? How we can tend to, well, we can't be objective with our own selves. It's difficult, but self-awareness, I think, is very important. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I would like to say that for me, great meaning of your book is that a lot of people survive such situation and even worse, and sometimes not every person can write about it,
Mm,
can come up with it, and so
true.
on. But when we see someone who passed this harsh period and is okay now,
Yeah, yeah,
it's great sign of hope for us that everything will be okay, that everything is possible after that.
yeah.
And even if this person will never meet you personally, will never say thank you or something, but will just read this book in silence and will say to himself or to herself that my pain is not endless as well. I will survive. I will go through it. I will live again. I will feel again. I will love again, and everything is going to be okay in
Yes.
my life. I think that it's like having such book is like having a candle and showing a way out.
Thank you.
And great thanks
Thank you.
for
Because
you for
it did give me hope. You know what I mean? Just um, to be able to talk about something and then have other people say, hey, you know what? This happened to me too. And I think that we are united in our aloneness or loneliness. I don't know. I guess it would be aloneness because I mean, we are all alone in our lives at the end of the day, right? Um, but when you sit there and you write it, for me, I'm lucky, I guess I'll say, that I was able to, like you were saying, like channel that into something, because that's the unfortunate thing about it. The healing doesn't kind of happen until you let it go. And a lot of times it's hard to do that. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I remember back in the day, there was this thing where you would, burn all your journals and stuff, and have this like ceremony if you wanted or whatever. But like, just burn things. Um, but you but what if you haven't faced them? What if you haven't processed them? What if you haven't looked at them? You have to take these things and you have to dissect them. Like, you have to really look at it and see, because otherwise, if you can't see it for what it was, how can you heal from it? Right? So
yeah.
that's what my books are. It's me dissecting something in the moment. Nothing is ever planned. I don't like think about what I'm going to write before I write it. It just kind of comes out that way. And I encourage anybody to do that. You don't have to be, a writer, um, to journal or to write about your feelings and your thoughts. And I think that's what it is. And sometimes also a certain amount of time has to go by before you can look back on it. And then you can see it, and then you can process it, and then you can write about it or whatever, or talk about it in whatever way you want to kind of purge it. But you have to stop and you have to look. There has to be enough time. You have to look at it. I think this is my opinion. And then you have to try to be objective about it. And a lot of times that's when you realize that you were giving yourself all this guilt and it was
Yeah.
not yours to carry. It wasn't even yours because I think society gaslights us a lot, like they'll say it's okay to do this or do that, or that's not okay if that happens to you. But say in the case of like a sexual assault, they say it's not okay, but then it is kind of okay, I think, in terms of the society, because they do let these things go a lot because it's just too much to bother with. So that tells me that we live in a society where the culture um, doesn't, well, it enables, but they're okay with it. They're okay with women being, or anyone in any situation who would be able to be, say, in a situation of power. It's like they don't see it as the serious, like how as serious as what it really is. Um, if you tell someone, what do you think about a man brutally, say, raping a woman? They're going to say, oof, that's terrible. But if you talk about it in a sense of, like, say you go to a police station or something, they will question you on that and they will make you basically prove it to them before they help you with it. And I think that's part of the problem right there. And this is part of the reason why we don't talk about it, because they don't see it as the crime that it is, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
So
Right.
we write. So we write about it and
Sometimes,
we talk about it. And this is helping. I think it really
yeah.
is helping, you
Yeah,
know?
and I want to give another quote from you.
Okay.
I liked, but it's not from your book. I read it on your somewhere on your profile.
Oh, okay.
That healing, it's not what happens to us. It's what we do to us. And it's great, and it gives me some kind of hope too, that it's some feeling of control, that
Yeah.
yes, it was served to me, but I decide what to do with it. Yes, you can. It's my daughter. I must
I understand.
finish already
No problem.
because
No problem. We did really good here. I don't know how
yeah,
long we did for, but we did a
thank
good job.
you so
Thank you so
much
much.
for meeting today and for very interesting talk.
And thank you. And I'm sorry that I was a little late
It
starting.
was
Uh,
okay.
we
It
made it
it just
work.
happened.
And
And
wanted to say your hair looks amazing. You turned
thank you.
around and the curl, I thought it was so nice. But yeah, I appreciate you very much, and I hope that we can do this again sometime.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
maybe after we finished our
Yes,
books, reading each
I
other's books.
wanted to propose it.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, that sounds
I
great
would
because
love to
I'm
meet
planning on finishing it because it really is an enjoyable read. So if anybody wants to read Alex's book, it's on Amazon and it's called you can tell them what the name is. Hang on, I have it here in my Kindle. Um, it's called Wild Dreams, Deep in Space and in Your Mind. Um, and then of course the author. Is it your full name for the author name? Um,
It's my pen name, but
Pen
it's
name. Yes. Okay.
my real name as well because my full name is Alexandra
Yeah.
and Alex is okay,
Alex
just
is
my
long and
name.
he's perfect. But also, if anybody wants to buy your book, the link, I guess, probably be on your profile on your
Yeah,
Instagram
yeah,
page, is it?
sure.
Yeah. And so is mine. And just so everyone knows, this is my book Thunder here. We were talking about today. This is the first one. I don't know if I showed you that,
It's
Alex, but that
great.
was my
I
first book.
highly recommend it to my
Oh,
followers
this
too.
one?
It's
This one you read, right? Yeah.
amazing.
Um, it's like I always say, it's not for everyone. It's not. It's it's not. And it's not about getting, kind of something out of it. It really isn't. It's just I think I just wanted it to be out there. And if somebody can relate to it, then great. But it isn't for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah, but there is no book in this world that is for everyone. I think
That's true.
that we meet and we talk about it just to come up with our children, because our book are our
Yes.
children
Yes, our babies.
today,
Yeah.
and for someone to resonate with it.
Yes, yes.
So uh,
There's something for
if you
everyone out
like
there.
to check out, and it's a really great experience to read Renaria's books and poetry especially. It's
Thank
great.
you so much. And again, your book too, I'm very much enjoying. I'm on chapter 4. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but it's in terms of like how far I've gone into it, but you really impressed me. Like I'm not saying that I
Thank
wasn't
you.
expecting it to be good, but yeah. So if anybody wants to pick up Alex's book, it's again our the links to the books are on our pages. So if you want, check that out. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
And what I'm going to do
Thank
at the end here, I'm going to collaborate this live with you. You'll get a DM, right? And so that way we'll have it on both our pages because it was supposed to
Yeah.
be on yours, but we had
Yeah.
some technical difficulties. So I'm going
But
to make sure. So I'll send
okay.
it to you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank
Alex.
you. Thank
Take
you
care.
so
Bye,
much.
everyone who
Take
watched
care.
today. Okay,
Bye.
bye.
And thank
Thank you.